Welcome to Live Stream with Lori. I hope you are all amazing tonight. I've got some good things in store for you. No title today up top, but I did want to say that people ask me all the time, Lori, how do I manifest? How do I start this journey? And I always have a framework that I want to share with you today, and I want to give you some inroads and some gateways to getting started that like to ebb and flow as they come through me, as I tune into guidance, all the things. So on frameworks, you know, people back in the day, I would ask me the question, Lori, how do you manifest? I'd say, you know, what's the biggest question that you have? And they'd say, well, how do you manifest, you know? And of course I have always my answers to that, but you know, over the years we created different classes, different frameworks, etc., etc. But what it came down to was 7 principles I want to go over with you tonight. I like to call them the 7 sacred keys, but I also want to touch on some gateways. And actually, I think I tonight want to spend even a little bit more time on gateways tonight than deep diving the principles. Although I love to do that as well, but I want to touch on like some of our frameworks here that we do, that I teach you in the academy, that I teach you in some of my sister programs. I want to touch on frameworks, and I also want to touch on some gateways and some questions that you can ask yourself to kind of like prepare your energy for the journey ahead and prepare your energy and yourself, you know, to step into really your greatness. So tell me what your desire is. And if you aren't sure, tell me what your challenge is. Put it down in the chat. I would love to know like how I can best support you. So if you're just getting here, let me know. Type, oh, new, replay, if you're just getting here. But I also want to know like what your challenge is and certainly what your desire is for the year. So chat amongst yourselves as you put it down. I have this feeling that you're not going to feel alone in that. I have this feeling that we're all going to land with some of the same desires. And I have this feeling that love and money seem to be some of the big hot buttons that we have a lot of resistance around that we want to create in our life. And so where I come from, you know, I come from a model, and I created a model that unites personal transformation and manifestation, right? And the energetics of that work as well, like I was saying. But I may say to you, right, here's the frequency, here's the model that we're going to dance in, but also there are inroads to like making decisions and preparing for this journey that I think are really, really important. And I want to give you some of that tonight. So tonight's going to be just like a bit of a riff. Come on in. Hello. Hey, Wendy. Hello. Hello. Hi, Victoria. Hello. 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 Hey, everyone. Awesome. Okay. Hey, Liz. Hi, Donna. Good. I'm going to like catch up on some of your comments as we go through the night here as well. So come on in. Janae. Hello. Hello. Do I? Well, good. I love that. Okay. So, oh goodness. All right. So when you come into this circle, you know, when you come into this group, this circle, you know, one of the first things that I offer you is a framework that says, you know what, let's start off with these basics. And I bring it down to like 7 things that I have you start in. And I would like to call them a sequence. I would like to call them a manifesting stack. I would like to call them our quantum core. I call them all kinds of different things. But what this work does, and what this particular framework does, is if you started this framework tomorrow, you would see a result very quickly in your life. And it's something to practice. It's something to ignite. It's something to activate, right? But you would see a result. I used to say to people who would come into the work, I would say, if you just start with these 7 principles, you will see a result. And it's from that result that you can go deeper. And so there are some foundation principles that are really important. And so the first one is, and you can write this down and take notes in the chat if you like, but number 1 is deep self-love and appreciation. And where I come from this focusing on the importance of your worthiness and your personal transformation starts with self-love, right? And so it isn't about loving yourself just from the outside in. It really is like a deep sense of, self-love and appreciation. And I always bring people back to this quote because Abraham Hicks said many years ago, the appreciation of self and the appreciation of others is the highest vibrational match to source energy we've seen anywhere in this universe. And one of the things that I do is I bring people back to that over and over and over and over again. And it's through the work, it's through the rest of our programming that we really, ignite that. And so think about, as a getting started place or a quick start, think about like, how can I love myself today? Quite simply, how can I be in and I would have you dial it in, deep self-love today. What would that look like? And so the minute that you start focusing on, the minute you start loving yourself differently, you start to create a whole new energy. You start creating a whole new come from, and it shifts you, right? Well, hello, Poochie. So we didn't forget about you. So Roscoe. So I want to encourage you to be in deep self-love and appreciation starting tomorrow, starting tonight. What would that look like? All right. Number 2 of our framework is meditation. I want you to find that place, that stillness, that moment where you can just kind of clear the channel. Because when you do, you have a connection to the quantum field. You have a connection to the infinite. You have a connection to the divine. And so while I don't teach meditation per se, I certainly teach clearing the channel, and I certainly teach present moment stillness, and I certainly teach some techniques that are unique to Lori about meditation. However you meditate, you just can't do it wrong. So I wanna bring you back, if you are a veteran, and I wanna bring you to this concept called stillness, right? I just want to bring you to finding stillness in your everyday. The third concept, and I know I'm whipping through these, but I have so much to talk to you about tonight, is this piece about visualization. Are you visualizing that which you desire much more than you're visualizing that which you don't? Like what are you conjuring? What are you dreaming? What are you putting in this vision board called your brain? And called your mind. So I want to bring you back to some of these core basics. This is the core basic, and get some of these activated in your energy, in your frequency, and in your practice if you've not been practicing. Number 4 is to revel in synchronicity. Raise your hand if you have taken courses from me. We are heavy into synchronicity, the synchronistic unfolding, activating the magic that calls forth synchronicity from the divine field. And one of the very first steps in doing that and in doing this work is to get into the practice of reveling. If you are familiar with the post that goes out, I think on Thursdays, it's thank you, universe, one more please, but it's like, I teach you to be in such deep gratitude that you revel. And it's like, thank you for every synchronicity, one right after another, for all that I have and all that I've been given. And so there's a frequency that opens gateways here for you. And I want to just like have you tap into that. Number 5 is to take inspired action. That means when you feel yourself nudged, when you feel yourself moved, when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be and I need to take this action. That's where you need to focus your humanly action efforts. And trust me when I say that inspired action comes the more that you are in the upper 4. Okay, so when you're in self-love and you're meditating and you're honoring stillness and you're visualizing in the ways that work, and when you are reveling in your synchronicities and calling forth those magical moments from the divine field, inspired action starts showing up. It's like all of a sudden you're like, what? How come I'm feeling this like crazy nudge? And that comes from such a powerful place of alignment. So you'll find yourself feeling connected in a way that feels so inspired, and you'll feel so moved that action becomes a bit easier. So I love the idea that we can manifest right out of the ethers, right from the field of consciousness herself. However, we live in a very physical universe, and sometimes we have to pick up the phone to make a phone call. So if you're feeling inspired, which you should if you're in the practice, then follow it. No matter what that is, follow every single nudge. Number 6 is about detachment from the outcome. There is so much to say about detachment from the outcome, but at the end of the day, it really is, am I clinging to my result, or am I able to unhook from the outcome in a way that can be aligned and expectant and connected to creating that which I desire? Like, how do I unhook from that which I desire, but vision it at the same time? And there is a fine line there, which I can't go into totally tonight, but I want you to feel into what it feels like to unhook, detach from your outcome, because it is very much connected to universal law. Actually, people say it's the law of detachment. But when you detach from that, it's like you stop, people say you can't, the metaphor is you can't clutch a butterfly. So I want you to feel into how it might feel to want something so beautifully, but unhook from it. What it might feel like to desire something, expect something, but not need it so hard that you choke it off for all practical purposes. Okay, so I want you to just feel the lightness in that. Number 7 is all about, are you open to receive? And that is opening your heart and your mind and your soul and your energy and your everything to receive the gifts that are waiting for you, that are there for you, that are yours. So sometimes we are definitely shut down our receiver. We don't think that we deserve, or we're not, ready to take in the thing that we desire, or we think that we'll be judged. I mean, there's all kinds of things that shut down receiving. And it's mostly around deservingness and worthiness. However, I want you to ask yourself, am I open to receive, and can I be? So when we look at like this quick start and stepping into this place, I want you to feel into these 7 things, okay? And it's deep self-love, it's meditation and stillness, visualization, reveling in your synchronicity, taking inspired action, detaching from the outcome, and being open to receive. And every single one of these is based, so to speak, and woven together very deliberately, very consciously, and is based in universal law, which I won't go into now, but you need to know that these are core principles that are magnetic. They light up your magnetic center. They create a powerful alignment for you, and you do really truly start to create miracles from the activation of these very simple principles. Is that where it ends? No, of course not, because we are human and we need to hear things differently, and we need to get our arms around philosophies and practices that sometimes can uplift us in different ways. However, the core stands alone in such a powerful foundation that if you did these things tomorrow, if you did these things even for an hour, you're in observation of these ways of being or these concepts just for a little while, it would shift you. And out of that shift, you might create another result. So I want you to be playful with this, because what I experience on the other side of the work is the miraculous. What I experience is my clients coming and saying to me, oh my gosh, I know you know, but I can't believe this happened. I know you're going to say, of course we know how that happened, right? But it still feels like miraculous. It still feels like magic. So if you are new here, or if you're a veteran who needs to be reignited, get back to some of these. I call this sometimes coming back to the basics, right? And, and truly just like reigniting these principles. So let me know if this is helpful for you to hear again. If you haven't heard it before, let me know. If you're willing to try it, raise your hand. If you're willing to just observe these pieces, and I'm gonna say this in this order. Everything that I do in the Academy and all other sister programming is written in a certain way, in a certain sequence, because it's an activation of a frequency, and it's built that way. Really spiritually engineered to help you like create a higher frequency than you would if they were not in this order. So raise your hand if you're willing to commit to doing these things in this order. And even if you are already working with me, okay, Janae is like DMR. So back in the day, I called this daily manifesting routine, right? And now it's gotten to be so much deeper, but it really is something to get as a part of you. So I love hearing that, Janae. And your results speak for themselves, I will tell you. So, you know, I just want to like lean you into this, these things in this order, no matter where you are in the work with me, in the practice with me, these things in this order. So feel me on this, play, be curious. What would happen if I played with this just for a little while tomorrow? How would that feel? All right, so it occurs to me also as part of like what I would call a quick start, or, you know, something to lean into, because people say, how do I manifest? And I'm like, well, you know, when you transform yourself, manifestation becomes the easy part. And that's true. However, you know, looking at what's going on for the ego, looking what's going on in your mind, looking at what's going on kind of like, you know, it's like what's under the hood, right? What's in my way? What are my challenges is really important. So I have some thoughts for you in addition to do these things, get on the daily manifesting routine, right? The DMR, quantum core, the manifesting stack, the sacred 7. We call them all kinds of things because this has been through the years foundational since I want to say 2000, maybe 7, I want to say. So this is one of the very first sequences that I wrote and has created, and it was a foundation sequence, activating so many things, so much divine intelligence. So I want to give that to you, and I want to give you these gateways. So questions, I think, in addition to this, I want you to ask yourself a couple things. The first one is, I'm going to check time too. Hang tight. Okay. So the first one is, am I willing, I'm always talking about willingness, right? Am I willing to lean into the idea that I hold infinite power to create my reality? And here's the thing. The reason I ask you, am I willing to lean into, is because our egos in every single way want to keep us from like embracing and embodying and being connected to that level of power. And that's because it's scary, and that's because we don't get it. It's because we can't wrap our mind around it. But when we lean into this space, can I lean into the infinite power, my infinite power? Can I lean into that? Am I willing to lean into the fact that I hold this infinite power to create my reality? Raise your hand if that's you. Because when we start creating proof of that magic, all of a sudden leaning into the infinite power becomes easier. But when we're not creating that quite yet, and we feel very separated from our power, or we feel very separated from our results, or we feel very separated from the fact that miracles come right out of the air sometimes, when we're not experiencing that yet, the ego's like, yeah, right, your infinite power, I can have you chant that affirmation, but it's like, what is it? I need some proof. So I want to help you create a little proof tonight. And it starts with, you know, lean into this how-to, but also lean into, I hold infinite power to create my reality. Can I lean into that? What if that's true? That's kind of cool. What if I did these 7 sacred steps? and I created results. That would be really, really cool. What if that shifted me? What's beyond that? Oh my God, anything is possible. I could lean into that. So the second thing I want to ask you to answer is, am I willing to celebrate my divine successes, my divine frequencies? Am I willing to celebrate my divinity? And what that means is, it's like, am I willing to hold myself as the goddess that I am? Am I willing to uptick, and instead of focusing on everything that I find that's wrong with me, am I willing to focus on what's so very right and worthy in me? Am I willing to do that? Am I really willing to not just love myself? That's our step one. But am I willing to literally celebrate myself? It is enormous. Am I willing to do that? And if I can't find it quite yet, because egos are sticky and they don't want to, and they think it's weird, I want you to feel into, am I willing to lean into celebrating my amazing divinity, my amazing potential? Am I willing to like lean into that? Let me know if that's you. Raise your hand if that's you. Okay. Because it's like, what does it take to get this to go? How can I get the energy to flow, you know? And sometimes it's literally just leaning in, and not being so certain that life is a certain way. Like, what if it's not? What if it was different? What if you made it up as you went along? What if it's more magical than you could imagine? What if it wasn't based in reality? What if you, and I talked about this last week, what if you, instead of lived life on cause and effect, what if you caused an effect? Like, what if you, through your presence, through your alignment, what if you, through your intention, through your vision, through how you held yourself, what if you actually impacted the field of consciousness and attracted back to you and yourself and your life more magic, more miracles, more synchronicity? Like, what if that was real? What if that was the majority of your reality versus living life, grinding through life, trying to get it to go? What if the reality is something that we've been, pushing off as woo-woo this whole time? What if it's really something else? So I want you to feel into it and lean in. Just lean into the potential, because this is like such a good place to start. We create a shift in energy, and I've said for years, when you shift, life shifts for you, and sometimes immediately. And I'm never, ever, ever about quick fixes, but I am about quick shifts leading to quick results. But the shift comes from inside of you, versus the tactic or the technique that I would throw at you and say, try this, throw this spaghetti noodle against the wall and see if it sticks. Instead of, well, let me take a look at who I'm becoming. Let me take a look at my internal power. Let me take a look at my manifesting practice. Let me take a look at the practice that connects me most to my highest power, right? So I want to lean you into a different kind of potential, but it starts with you. We're geared to like get stuff all the time from the outside in, and this is definitely an inside out journey, which is cool because we get to choose it then, we get to choose it. So let me know if this is helpful. If you're resonating with this, throw me some hearts. Let me know if this is helpful, if this is igniting you or lighting you up or activating something in you. The next one, this is the next question. I've probably lost track, whatever number this is, 1, 2, 3, maybe. I want you to test and tune in. Do I have an open heart? Just merely. It's kind of one of those like obvious, and I like to say the obvious sometimes, but it's literally like, do I have an open heart? Because what I know is that your open heart, your open mind, your open energy, your openness, your willingness to receive, which, by the way, open to receive, your willingness to even receive the frequency that I'm giving you like right now makes you magnetic. Anytime that you turn your attention to limitlessness, anytime you turn your attention to possibility, anytime you turn your attention to the quantum field, things start shifting for you powerfully. So I want you to ask yourself, am I willing to lean into even my open heart? Because you know it's there. You were born with one. Isn't that crazy? You were born with an open heart. You were born ready to receive. You were born deserving, born worthy, born. But as life would have it, it's an expansion journey. So you get to ask yourself the question now, can I lean into really having an open heart, maybe even activating my magnetics? I want to talk about that in a second. But when you start to combine these things with our simple basic framework, all of a sudden you go, holy smokes, I feel a little bit differently today. I wonder what's possible for me on the other side of this shift. It can be a big deal, and sometimes it opens floodgates, which I love. So number 4, and this is another gateway, another lean in. Am I willing to, and this is the last one I'm going to give you tonight. Am I willing to lean into feelings, not just vision, right now? And I have so much to say about all of these pieces, but for now, am I willing to lean into, as a gateway, feelings that are a vibrational match, so to speak? When I say so to speak, that's just in case you don't know the language yet, because I know that we have language here. What is it called when they say buzzwords and the language of our circle? But am I willing to focus on the feelings that are a vibrational match to my abundance, my prosperity, my wealth, my transformation? Can I focus on feelings? You might be like, Lori, what does that even mean? So I want to show you for a minute, like, how powerful it is to shift. So you know what it's like to feel scarcity, right? Hi, Connie. You know what it's who in this room knows what it's like to feel scarcity, like I do, right? Scarcity of self, feeling not enough, scarcity of wealth, feeling like there's not enough in the bank, whatever you want, however scarcity is defined. So we can feel scarcity, and you can turn your attention to it and be like, yeah, I remember a time when I felt scarcity. Yeah, I remember a time when I felt worried, fear, right? So I want you to feel that for a second, and then I want you to feel the power of what would it feel like to feel abundant, and ask yourself the question, whoa, what would it feel like if I felt abundant right now? So gateways are this powerful shift, asking yourself the question, what would it feel like, or how would I feel if I turned my attention quite simply to abundance? Okay, and so I have a whole operating system for this, but I want you to feel the power of what happens energetically when you make the shift. So how do I manifest? Well, we do the practice. We start with the 7, and then we start leaning into and asking ourselves questions just like this. And I probably, if I taught this to you next week, might have a set of different questions, because I was feeling into it, and these felt like somebody needed to hear this tonight. And if it's you, raise your hand. I'm not sure. But there are gateways to softening up that energy so that you can be receiving of the 7. So I want you to feel into scarcity just for fun. And then I want you to shift over and just simply set your attention on the feeling of abundance for a minute. What would that feel like? Because here's the thing, your feeling is your frequency, just so you remember that. And what you focus on grows. What you think about, you bring about. When you resonate, when you radiate, when you're focused upon, when you're paying attention to something, whether it be the thing that you desire or the thing that you don't want, what you focus on expands. So it's basic law of attraction. Do I teach law of attraction? Yes. Do I teach it in a way that transforms you? Yes. Do I teach the basics of law of attraction? Yes, but better. Okay, so I want you to feel that powerful shift. What you focus on grows, right? And as you interact in your present moment, where your power lies, with the field of consciousness, because that's your connection. It's what we tend to create in our life. And that's just a general reminder. So how would it feel to feel abundant? Okay, I'm going to give you some words to focus on. How would it feel? What would it feel like to feel magnetic? To draw to you easily and effortlessly that which you desire. What would that feel like? What would it feel like to be in the presence of a miracle? What would that feel like? We've all experienced the miraculous somewhere in our life. What would it feel like to be experiencing massive, beautiful, copious amounts of synchronistic unfolding? The magic of that. Can you imagine how that would feel? How would that feel? What would it feel like? And I'm kind of like taking you back to what I talked about earlier. What would it feel like to be in the energy of celebration? What would it feel like to be in the energy of satisfaction? What would it feel like to be in the energy of amplification? That was the other one that came to me this evening. Amplified. What would it feel like to be in the energy of fulfillment? What would that feel like? These are gateways, right? What would it feel like to be in the energy of more than enough? Isn't that amazing? If you had more than enough, maybe it was more than enough love for self. Maybe it's more than enough wealth. Maybe it's more than enough, you name it. What would it feel like to be there? And this simple this simple activity or this simple little exercise, I really want you just to like lean into, because the minute that you shift, life does. And it's profound and remarkable and beautiful. And I want to give you some gateways to just ignite this work a little bit more than maybe this morning or maybe this last week, and to really ground you and like allow you to like feel into your power for just a minute, because that really is part of the work. It's like, for me to create the life that I want, I have to like entertain that. So what would it feel like to have everything that you want? What would it feel like to be standing in your purpose? What would it feel like to take the leap, right? So feel into these things. What would it feel like? What would it feel like to be activated, resonating, and dialed it up? What would it feel like to be ignited to the nth degree in your potential, in your prosperity, in your feelings of what you can even accomplish in your reality? What would that feel like to hold that? And what would it feel like to feel like anything is possible in your life? So you can see, and I'm giving you guys a really, really like fast and furious like way to enter and do some of the practice. But I want to give you that to you because, sometimes it's like, let's just have a little start, I believe that you are all goddesses. I believe that you can create anything that you desire. And sometimes we just need a tiny bit of hope or a seed that it might be different than we think it is. Because I promise you, we, through our ego's eyes, are constantly in self-protection. We are constantly in self-judgment, in self-criticism. We are constantly making up stories for how we can stay the same and not necessarily stand in our greatness. And that's because it's easier to stay the same than it is to grow. It is self-protective. So we want great things. We hold ourselves back because we're human. So I want to give you a little bit, a few tools, right, to deal with that humanness just a little bit more today and bring you back, drag you back beautifully to the seven, right? The seven pillars, the seven sacred keys, right? So that you can master some of these. Doesn't take much, it just takes a little consciousness. And from that, everything else opens up. So let me know if this is helpful. If you are wanting to explore looking at the Academy, just hashtag ready and I will jump on the phone with you. Actually, Tim will jump on the phone with you. 15 minutes, right, honey? We do a quick chat to see if it's a fit for where you are right now and how we can help. Just a quick little, like, I don't know. I hate to say assessment, but like, where are you at? How can we help? And is this a good fit for where you are right now? So the Academy is amazing. We have 12 transformational experiential workshops tucked inside that program for you, and it's pretty profound. So if you are resonating and you feel like the Academy and the whole enchilada is something that you are very interested in, #ready. All right. Let me know, though, if you have questions. We'd be happy to answer. We are here for you. We are here to be in high service of your transformation and be in high service of helping you create the life that you want to live, you know, whether that's manifesting love, manifesting wealth, manifesting your purpose, whatever that might be. So I love and adore you all so much. I will see you next time. Have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you later. Bye for now.